Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Zlytical channel. And today is really kind of just, I wanted to talk about something that I noticed. So, the title of this video, as you can probably already see, is Gen Z is reclaiming consumer culture. What do I mean by this? So, something I noticed is that Gen Z is kind of moving away from the mindless online spending, right? We are trying to return back to traditional, intentional shopping values to cope with this tough economy that we are growing into, right? Now, the first thing I wanted to talk about is the death of digital shopping, right? So, this past Black Friday, I don't know if anyone else noticed how dead it was inside the stores, um, which is crazy because despite it being pretty dead inside the stores with the sales being absolutely terrible, right? Online shopping was at its highest. There was $11.8 billion worth of spending being conducted this past Black Friday, right? However, when you look at the actual sales that was happening, right? As in the biggest sale that I saw was maybe 50% off, which when I was younger, right? Like Black Friday was known to start at 50% off, right? And also, what I've noticed is that Gen Z, I'm Gen Z, right? We prefer in person shopping, right? We want to see it, we want to touch it, we want to try on these products before we commit to making this purchase. Why? Because how often, let me ask you this, how often have you gone online, right? Whether it's Amazon, Shein, Temu, ooh, right? And you go to try to make a purchase, you make the purchase just to receive the product in hand, and this is not anything what you thought you were going to receive, right? It's extremely frustrating. And Gen Z, we're trying to make a change where we're being more intentional, right, with our shopping purchases. We're not just shopping and just throwing money at the wall because we can't afford it. We don't have it to do, right? So we are looking at, okay, why do I need this? What's the purpose that's going to what is this purpose? What is the purpose of this, me spending my money, my hard-earned money on this any particular item, right? And I think the reason for that is because we just have less disposable income than previous generations, right? So every purchase that we make has to be worth it, right? Um, And something that I've learned too is that it's called the Jersey philosophy, right? Apparently, in New Jersey, when the economy gets harder, right? When things are, when money is not flowing as much, like Jersey, if you don't know, is like the shopping capital of the country, if you didn't know. And what we tend to do when times are hard, we go in person to shop. We don't shop online, right? We want to go and touch, feel, and because we have less money to play around with, right? So it is important, right? So that's the first thing, the death of digital shopping, right? We are tired of just we don't have the money to just spend mindlessly, right? We have to be more mindful in things that we decide to spend our money on. The second point I wanted to speak on is the struggle with the sizings and fittings of clothes nowadays, right? So, me personally, my body has fluctuated a lot in the past couple of years. So, what my size was, like I used to know my size, but now I don't, right? So, for me, it's hard to buy jeans, for example, because I just don't know if they're going to fit me, right? Sometimes I'm bloating, sometimes I'm not. When I'm not bloating, I'm a one size. When I am bloating, I'm a different size. And it's hard. It's hard to do online, right? So, in store, right? This is where I've been frustrated because I'm a smaller girl, and when I go inside of the store, all the small sizes are sold out, right? While the larger sizes are seem to be always overstocked, right? Forcing me to shop online, which is annoying because the reason why I'm shopping in person is because I want to feel, want to fit into the clothes. I want to make sure they fit, right? So, that is extremely frustrating. And then it's just poor design effort, right? Like these different brands, they don't put in the time and energy in the size ranges that they create, right? So I've noticed also many brands expanded their size ranges during the pandemic because of the different movements. What was it, the body positivity movement? But I feel like they failed, right, to actually design these clothes for the different body shapes, right? So for me, I'm more petite, and let's be real, something that looks good on me is not going to look good on someone that's 200 pounds more than me, right? Why is that? Because our body shapes are different. So you can't just use the same I don't know what they call it, but the same cutout. You have to make it big. Like you can't just make it bigger. You have to change how the cuts are made, and the stitching has to be different if you really care about catering to these bigger sizes, right? And also, I feel like Gen Z, we just care more about authenticity, right, over inclusivity. We prefer brands that focus on doing one thing well, rather than brands that you're just checking a box, right? Just to say that you're inclusive. For example, I've noticed this in what is it, in makeup, right? Where a lot of brands now, ever since Fenty Beauty came out with, oh, we have 40 shades of foundation, everyone feels like they have to have an inclusive shade range, when you actually go and look at the deeper, darker shades, or even like the paler shades, the real fair skin shades, they're not actually, like, they are just shades to say that they have them, but they are not real shades where you look into olive skin tones or undertones. You try to find like the warmth or the yellow golden undertones, like it's just brown or it's just deep dark, you know what I mean? And it's frustrating, right? We want to see that you actually care, right, about the brands, or not the brands, but you actually care about the people that you're trying to include, instead of just saying, oh yeah, we're inclusive just to get my money, when you can do that online, because I can't touch it, I can't feel it, I can't swatch it, right? But I can buy it, I can give you my money, and then when it's time for me to return it, you're going to give me a bunch of pushback, right? Okay, over it, right? And now I just want to move on. So the next thing I wanted to bring up is, listen, this, with this economy, how things are going, listen, we have gotten a big reality check. Okay. Let me see. So this is something that I'm dealing with currently, right? So the level of competition we have in this job market is absolutely insane, right? So back in the day, when when you would go and get a college degree, that used to put you ahead of like 80% of people, right? But now, yeah, so now our competition is global. We are competing against people from all over the world that have the same credentials as you, which means it's hard. We're fighting tooth and nail to get these higher paid positions. And if you don't have that, you just have less money to spend. And guess what? There's consequences to that. And I kind of spoke on that earlier. The income gap. Many people are working way harder than their parents did. But guess what? We're earning less money, right? There are people that are trying to, and this was me and my husband's situation of trying to raise a family. Can you believe people are trying to raise families on $35,000 to $40,000 a year? Could you imagine? I don't even think we were like that down bad, but, and that's no shade, but it's like, that's not a lot of money, depending on where you live. But in most places, that's not enough to raise a family. And listen, we're exhausted. All right. We're tired of being told to just work harder, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, and whatever they say. I'm tired of being told to work harder. when they like we've already reached our limit. And this is what I mean by that. It's, we're being told, oh, if you want to have these nice things, you need to work harder. But it's like we are working hard. Like I worked hard to get my degree, I worked hard to get my position, I worked hard to do, but it's still not enough. The bar is always constantly raising. And the one thing I know that we can do as consumers is I can speak with my money. You know what? I have a limited income, which means my bills take up most of my income, and then my discretionary income, I'm going to be extremely intentional with how I pay it, right? So, for example, if I go out and whether it is like, let's just say I go to a restaurant and the hostess has an attitude or just doesn't acknowledge me, yeah, I'm turning myself right around and you're not getting my money, right? Or if I go into a store and the person just doesn't acknowledge me, right? But I see that someone else of a different complexion walks in and you acknowledge them, oh, sweetie, you're never going to get my money. You know what I mean? Because I can speak with my money. Money talks, right? And a lot of us in Gen Z, we're being forced to do this, you know? And I think it's a good thing because when I look at consumerism culture, so many people just accept whatever's given to them because it's, you have the money to do it, right? It's just like, oh, I don't care, I'm just going to throw my money at the wall. Now we're not doing that, and I think that's super important, but we can go more into that in future videos. And I also think that Gen Z, we just have this desire to return back to, how can I say it? We have this desire to go back to more traditional values. Like you can say whether it's conservatism or we just remember growing up having certain things in like life just seems so bright and so fun. And now that we're adults, everything's boring and just bleh and monochromatic or whatever, right? And it's just very neutral, very beige, and it's not fun, right? And I feel like we're craving normalcy, right? We are craving practicality. We have this collective desire to return back to what worked, right? Traditional stability and not constantly worrying about the future. Like, I feel as though since I became an adult, even a little bit before then, but really when I became an adult and really started looking and paying attention, it's like it's constantly the world's about to end, right? Every other week, right? The world is over. It's breaking news, it's everything. And it's just like, listen, I don't even care at this point. Like, it is what it is. I just want to be able to make enough money to live my life, go to brunch with my girls and just talk ish. Okay. Can we just go back to being normal? I feel like everyone wants to be rich. But it's like everyone wants to be rich, but a lot of people don't want to put in the time and the effort to be rich, right? And I'm noticing that not in Gen Z, but in older generations, right? We are just fighting to be able to be in a normal predicament. We are just fighting to be able to live our lives, right? And it's frustrating how it's just frustrating how I'm sorry. It's just extremely frustrating because I feel like we just want, like I said, normalcy, and we just want to be able to work hard and get paid for the work that we do, and that's just we don't see that happening. And when we bring it up to people, it's like we're being looked at as if we're crazy or we're entitled or whatever. And it's like, okay, so if I am working a full-time job and my partner is working a full-time job, why can we not afford to buy a house? Why can we not afford to go out to eat a couple times a month? Why can we not afford to live a decent life? It doesn't make any sense. And we can go into things deeper than just this in future videos. But this is how a lot of Gen Z is feeling. Market power, right? By us changing how we spend our money, we, at least for me, like we are planning to force the economy to adapt to our needs, right? And here's the thing, I've been talking to people about just the job market and like we were talking about spending habits and just like how the economy is moving. We have to take hold of the fact that, listen, we are the future of the world. We are the future, right? We dictate a lot more than we think about the economy and how the economy meets our needs. But we use that by speaking with our money, right? Also, we are grounded in optimism. I try to be extremely optimistic. So despite the financial challenges and struggles that we have, there is there is a sense that life is still worth enjoying. Um, but things need to improve. And they can. But we have to stop listening to the negative people around us, right? Because what I've noticed is that a lot of older generations are very much just shut up, keep your head down, and do what you're supposed to do instead of, you know, looking at, okay, how can we push the needle forward? How can we make things better? They just, it is what it is. That's what we did. That's what we, went through. And y'all are just lazy and da da da. Listen, stop blaming us for being quote unquote lazy when we just became adults. We're realizing that a lot of jobs, they don't want us to have a work life balance. What do you mean you expect for me to be at work for 50, 60 hours a week with no extra pay? Child, I got a life. Like, just because you hate your family does not mean I'm supposed to be here and just hating my family. F you. You know what I mean? And we have control over that because guess what? You can't outsource everything, right? And if we are not in positions to where we have jobs, what do you think is going to happen? If we don't have money to spend, they're going to lose money. Don't ever let these capitalistic or these companies make you think that they don't need our dollar and that they don't need us to be employees. Because guess what? The people out in these other countries don't speak English like us. When there's things that need to be attended to here, they need us. We do have a lot more power than they want us to believe. So, and I think a lot of Gen Z, we know that. And we're using that to our benefit, right? We are not taking no for an answer. And that's such a great thing, right? And I do have to go. But all in all, how I want to end out this conversation is that, see, Gen Z, we're built different. We're done with the performative stuff being performative, right? Um, we are done with this performative corporate culture, right? We are using our spending power. We're demanding authenticity. We're demanding quality. We're demanding a return back to the real world value. Why is that? Because stop trying to charge me $100 and something for a shirt that's literally made of plastic, right? We're done with it. So once again, thank you so much for coming on this is the Zelytical channel, and we're here trying to rub a couple brain cells together, right, to see how we can make the world a better place. And make sure if you like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and hopefully you will be back for more. So thank you again, and I hope you guys have a blessed and wonderful day. Bye.